Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman. A quick update from me and then to your questions, which you should put in the chat on this Thursday, the 1st of August, day 300 of the October 7th war. So, on this 300th day of this war, I want to reiterate Israel's war aims. Firstly, returning all of our hostages, 115 of them, 300 days in Hamas captivity. We are and we will do everything in our power to bring them all home. 10 months in Hamas's grasp. Eliminating Hamas's military and governing capabilities, ensuring that Gaza never again constitutes a threat to Israel, and restoring our residents securely to their homes in both the south and the north. Now, the Prime Minister's statement last night at 8 p.m, he made a statement about the current situation. The full statement is available on his website, but just a couple of points that I want to share with you now to highlight. The Prime Minister made clear that Israel is in a fight against Israel's axis of evil. This is an existential war, which means this is a war for our very existence against the stranglehold of terrorist armies and missiles that Iran would like to tighten around our neck. In this seven-fronted war, the three main arms of this axis of evil are Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah, the three H's. Israel has struck crushing blows on each one. The Hamas Chief of Staff, Mohammed Deif, today was confirmed to have been eliminated. 2 weeks ago, Israel attacked the Houthis in one of the Air Force's most distant assaults. And on Tuesday evening, Israel eliminated Hezbollah's Chief of Staff, Fouad Shakar, also known as Mohsin. The Prime Minister heaped praise on the professionalism of the IDF, the ISA, the IDF intelligence, the Air Force, and of all security services for their precision operations on three different fronts. Hezbollah number 2, Fouad Shakar, was one of the most wanted terrorists in the world. Indeed, the US put a $5 million bounty on his head. He was involved in the murder of 241 American soldiers and 58 French soldiers in Beirut in 1983. He was the main liaison between Iran and Hezbollah, and he was responsible for the organization's missiles, including the missile that struck that Druze village on Saturday afternoon at 6:18 p.m., killing 12 Druze youths and children. I saw it for myself with my very own eyes. The Prime Minister said that we have settled accounts with Mohsin, as with all those who attack us. Whoever butchers our children, he said, whoever murders our citizen, whoever attacks our state will pay the price. Now, looking to the future, the Prime Minister said that these are challenging days before us. We have received threats from all sides. The Prime Minister made clear, and this is the main point I want to share with you today before we take your questions. Israel is prepared for any scenario. Israel will stand united and determined against any threat. Israel will exact a very high price for aggression against us from whatever quarter. Israel, though we have a 3,000-year historical and unbreakable attachment to this land, was established 76 years ago as a safe haven for Jews from the ravages of centuries of Jew hatred. And the Druze, Israeli Arabs, Christians and Muslim, and others who chose to live here peacefully here in Israel. But no one should be in any doubt. Our long arm will reach anyone who causes harm to our people. Now finally, an update from COGAT and their work coordinating aid into Gaza over the last 24 hours. 173 trucks carrying humanitarian goods went into Gaza, 153 via Kerem Shalom and 20 via the Erez crossing. 8 UNICEF trucks carried baby formula and food with extra nutrients. A truck convoy entered Gaza via Gate 96. Now, in terms of collections, 170 trucks were collected by the private sector from Kerem Shalom, and 29 trucks were collected by UN aid agencies. But still, more than 550 trucks are still awaiting to be collected from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom by the hapless, hopeless, and thoroughly inefficient United Nations. 6 tankers of cooking gas were transferred to Gaza. Since the beginning of this war, 45,000 trucks have delivered 1,146,000 tons of humanitarian aid that have entered Gaza. 80% more food compared to prior to October the 7th. So that's the end of our briefing today. We'll now take your questions, which you should put in the chat together with your news outlet. Thank you very much. First question from Fred Ager. Ali Khamenei has ordered a direct strike on Israel following the elimination of Ismail Haniyeh and the elimination of Fuad Shakar, Mohammed Diaf, and Ismail Haniyeh. Iran and its proxies are likely to launch more aggressive military campaigns against Israel, both towards military and civilian targets. What is the level of readiness of Israel and its allies to another coordinated attack similar to October 13th attack? What are the Prime Minister Office security instructions to Israeli citizens? Thank you for that question, Fred. I believe I dealt with that when I referred to the Prime Minister's comments, which he made in his statement last night at 8 p.m. The statement, as I mentioned, is available on the Prime Minister's website. But just to reiterate the main points, which are that Israel is ready for all and every scenario. We are ready to defend ourselves, and our allies will join us in defending ourselves. We've made that very clear. In terms of changes on the home front for Israel citizens, there have not been any changes, but our citizens should keep up to date with the latest instructions from Home Front Command, as they should always. But as I mentioned, there have not been any changes to the current instructions to Israel's citizens. Next question here from Joel Pollack. Has the US congratulated or thanked Israel for eliminating Shukr? Thank you for that question. I haven't seen anything like that, but you should check any comments which were made yesterday by Secretary of State Blinken. I know that the Secretary of State referred to the elimination of Shukr, and I've heard him say that, but for further information you should check out what Secretary of State Blinken has said. I haven't got any other knowledge of that. Number 2, will Israel claim the $5 million bounty on Fuad Shukr? Thank you for that question, Joel. The same thought did cross my mind, but I think that our armed forces, our pilots, and the rest of Israel's security services and defense forces have nothing but professionalism in the way which they operate, dedication, and that is matched only by the people, the mums and dads, the families and the friends of everyone in our armed forces who send them lovingly into harm's way to defend this country. So that's all I can say about that. Thirdly, from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News, does Israel have a response to the cancellation of flights by US air carriers? Thank you for that question, Joel. I haven't got any information on that. Obviously, I've seen those reports, but I haven't got anything here from the Prime Minister's office regarding those flights. Every country, of course, will make appraisals on its own interests, from its own intelligence, in partnership with Israel, and that's up to other countries to make those appraisals. Next question here is from Hannah Julian of the Jewish Press. What preparations are being made for the population to contend with the possible fallout from a direct attack by Iran in coordination with its allies? Thank you for that question, Hannah. In my comments earlier, referring to the statement which the Prime Minister made from here last night at 8 p.m, which you can get on the Prime Minister's website, he made clear that there are no changes to the Home Front Command's instructions, but Israelis should keep abreast of the situation at all times in case there are any changes. But we are ready and we are able. This country is ready, willing and able to defend itself against any threat. It's the primary responsibility of any government, no less Israel's government, mandated by its people to defend the citizens of this country. It is our duty. It's a duty we take extremely seriously. We will always put our hand out to peace first and foremost, but the defense of this country comes first. And no one should be in any doubt of our determination to defend ourselves, no matter where the threat comes from. And just to reiterate, we are ready, both in ways that you've seen, and the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister has made clear, and the Chief of Staff of the Army have made clear, also in ways which you have not seen yet. Next question is from Dr. Abby Korb from SWC. Can you talk about the hostage negotiations? Yes, I can. So on the negotiations for a hostage release deal, the latest information we have is that Hamas are continuing their refusal, as they have all the way through actually, to reach an agreement. It continues to change clauses in the agreement, and it continues to entrench itself in its unreasonable demands. As a reminder, the framework which was agreed upon by Israel and supported by President Biden aims to enable us to get our hostages home without obstructing the other goals of this war. Now, again and again, it's been the Hamas leadership which has been preventing an agreement. Israel has neither changed nor added any condition to the outline. On the contrary, as of now, it is Hamas which has demanded 29 changes, no less than 29 changes, and it has not responded to the original outline. Look, the latest actions against Hamas mean that we are pressuring them to into a hostage release pause. We know that's what is effective against Hamas. It is harsh military pressure against Hamas, not against Israel's civilian, not against Gazan civilians, but against the Hamas leadership, which will push them to the table to make a potential hostage release pause. We want to get our people home. Look, 300 days on, Israel stands on its principles according to the original outline, maximizing the number of living hostages, Israeli control over the Philadelphia corridor, and preventing the passage of terrorists, real people, going through the Philadelphia corridor, as well as weapons, which are the oxygen for Hamas, and ammunition to the northern Gaza Strip. In these negotiations, we're insisting on our basic demands: the option to return to fighting unless all the goals of the war are met, preventing the smuggling of ammunition from Egypt and people from Egypt into the Gaza Strip, and preventing the return of thousands of armed terrorists to the north of the Gaza Strip, and maximizing the number of living hostages that return from Hamas captivity. We insist that this war will not end until our goals are met. I've shared with you our goals already earlier in this briefing. Okay, just scroll down a bit. Is there anything else? No, I think, we've got another question here, just in the nick of time, from Jim Williams at Zenga International News. Not a question, but a clarification to Joel Pollock's question at Breitbart News. Jim advises to check the Defense Department website. General Austin praised and the IDF for their courage and precision in taking out a very bad man who killed American soldiers. Thank you for that clarification, Jim. You are absolutely right. I did hear, so forgive me for not making that clear earlier in the briefing. I did hear Secretary of Defense Austin make those comments. He also made the same comments that in the same way that the US joined Israel in defending itself from those April the 13th Iranian attacks, 350 ballistic missiles, suicide drones, and other attacks from Iran, that the US again reiterated that it is committed to the defense of this country. That partnership between our two countries is absolutely key, not only to the safety of Israel, but for the safety of the US as well. You know, we live in the neighborhood of Iran, and we are facing them first and foremost, but we're only a stopgap. We are only a trip along the way for the great Satan. All of you will have heard at the inauguration of the Iranian president, the crowds, the masses shouting death to America and death to Israel. We heard it loud and clear here in Israel, so no one should be in any doubt that our enemy is also the US enemy. So thank you for that clarification, Jim. Next question here is from Victoria Bisset from the Washington Post. Do you have an updated comment on where ceasefire talks go from here? Thank you for that question, Victoria. I believe that I did mention that just a little bit earlier in a couple of questions back, but just to repeat the highlights of what I said on the negotiations for a hostage release deal. We are committed to those to that deal. We do wish it to proceed, but it is Hamas which continues its refusal, as it has all the way through, to reach an agreement, and it continues to change clauses in the agreement and continues to entrench itself in its unreasonable demands. This framework was agreed upon by Israel. It's been supported by President Biden, and our aim is to get our hostages home without obstructing the other goals of the war. We've said this before, that it's harsh military pressure against Hamas, not against Gazan civilians, against Hamas, which is the only way which encourages it to make that deal. They're a genocidal, murderous organization, more bent on becoming a shaheed, a martyr, and their erroneous, distorted view of Islam, their revolutionary Islamism, which makes them, these terrorists, militant in their views. But again and again, it's the Hamas leadership which has been preventing an agreement. Now, Israel has neither changed nor added any conditions to this outline. On the contrary, as of now, it's Hamas which has demanded, as I mentioned before, 29 changes and has not responded to the original outline. We stand on our principles according to the original outline, maximizing the number of people we can bring home, living hostages, control over the Philadelphia crossing to cut off that vital oxygen which Hamas uses through means of bringing in other terrorists and ammunition, absolutely key to destroying Hamas, and of course stopping any smuggling of weapons into Gaza, as well as armed terrorists to the north of Gaza. Okay. That looks like, can you just scroll up? Any other questions I may have missed? No, I think that is the last question. Just scroll down in case there are any other questions. Right, okay, so that's the last question. My friends, we have these briefings Monday to Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 3:30 Israel time. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again on Monday. We're all praying for a peaceful weekend, as always, and thank you for joining us. Please do stay safe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.